Hello, this is the Social Distance Reading Series, a project of the Vermont School and Green Mountains Review. I'm Dan Beachy-Quick, author of Arrows, published by Tupelo Press. It was due out May 1st, and they're pushing it back to July 1st. It also won't look anything like what I'm holding up. It will be gray and different, nice, not shiny. Thanks for joining me in my living room. My youngest is playing some games behind this cup of tea right there. And I'm really grateful for the chance to read some of the poems in this new book. By way of introduction, I'm a poet, essayist, and translator. This is my 7th full-length collection of poetry. I have a book of translations from the ancient Greek coming out in the fall, and have written a number of books of essays and works of kind of literary reverie on John Keats and Herman Melville and Thoreau and Dickinson and other writers very dear to me, and I'm sure dear to many of you. My work has generously been supported by the Monfort Foundation, the Landon Foundation, the Guggenheim Foundation, and my last collection was longlisted for the National Book Award in poetry. And I thought I'd read just a few poems from across the collection, and looking it over this morning, found some that seemed strangely apt for our social distancing time, so I thought I would read some of those too. And the first is a poem called eidos, that old Greek word for form, for idea, that feels like a kind of beginning of many kinds to me. Eidos. I used to eat clouds. When in the motherless air I felt this desire for thought, and the old appetites blue underneath their silver edge came, and the wasp looking for a hole, and the screen made of holes, while rain gathers weight at the window frame, the ever-lessening portion still mine, of mind called the open sky. As I mentioned, I've been studying ancient Greek, trying to teach it to myself for the last 7 years now, and I'm when I'm generous with myself, I'm a really C-level student, but with a dictionary and a grammar book, I can muddle my way through some lines and sentences in an hour of translation. But there's been these kind of wonderful insights that I never would have come toward, never been able to grasp without the chance to study that language. And one of those is the root of the word poet, poetes, which means most simply a maker, the particular maker for a poet that makes poems. And there's a verb that descends from that noun, poeo, which means I make or I do. But in Greek, there's another voice that English doesn't have called the middle voice. And some verbs, when they're in the middle voice, gain a slightly different definition. And poeo is one of those, which in the middle voice means to consider, or I consider. And it struck me as somehow a kind of fundamental truth about the nature of poetry as I most understand it and as I most want to practice it, that the poem is the thing in which consideration cannot begin until it's made. And a number of the poems at the first part of this book are at play with the curious kind of thinking that the poem allows somehow only within the auspices of the poem. So here's a couple of those. The made thing considers itself. Made the night, made the day, made deep the waters go away, made the crow and the threshing sound, made the earth and the shovel, made the dove and the olive sprig, made holes in the ground fill up with time, made peace a spring of trouble, made the rock, the bone, the mud, the cloud, the bee-loud glade, made the prayer sound of water wearing rock away, made the spark, made the flint, made the dry grass brittle, made the crystal, made the plug, made memory on the touchscreen glow, made Aleph silent, made fear live at home, made the crosswinds carry smoke from open window out open door, made the circuit, made the fire a button turns on, made the flood, made the drawer, made the deer on plastic legs in the overgrown lawn, made paradise, made tears, made the child yawn. O you, O none, O no one, O you. O fault, O vault, O stars, O zero, O rift, O bright sea, O cliff. There is a height, there is a depth, there is the level ground. There is silence there where some hear only sound. There is ash and hair, and ash and hair there is an alphabet whose last letter wanders in the dust, seeking something that can't be found. There is wisdom and hunger and days, blank pages and books, music, and strange animals asleep in beds of their own making. All night, these animals dream of themselves in this world of no proof, only evidence. Some consequences of the made thing. The end. Above these words, the sky closes. It closes by turning white. Not the white of all clouds or being within a cloud, white of worldless light, the end. Feel a silence there that reminds you of ascent. Crushed grass the hooves galloped through, or is it the binder's glue? Some silence, never not real, finally can be heard. Silence before the first words, precedent chaos, or marrow work, or just the sound of the throat opening to speak, like those scholars of pure water who rode through mountains and meadows to drink from each spring a glass, and then with brush and ink wrote poems on the differences of sameness. You too feel yourself taste the silent page of the end and the silent page of beginning. They taste so much of whiteness, never more white than white that's been lost. You have some sense of the book altering, page sewn secretly next to page, last page stitched first. Oh, earth, it rolls around the solar scroll, turning nothing into years and years into nothing. At the end, you're a witness to this work that wears the witness away. And who are you, anyway? Pronoun of the second person, lover, stranger, God, student, child, shade. Something similar gathers in you, another way of saying I in a poem, of saying I in a poem that realizes at the end that I am just a distance from myself, and so are you, that same distance. Psalm. I keep dear in my heart, forgive the ancient fold. I keep the woods there too. O altar that wanders away from prayer, keep no thing blank in the highest praise. Dear, drink water out their hooves, cloven print. This next poem, as another poem I'll read, is thinking some about Paul Celan, the great post-Holocaust poet. Efforts of translation. What burns becomes ash, becomes dust, becomes clouds that gather together the sea. So the clocks carry hours, and later on the bells rain down. What in them rings, not time, but something that rhymes with time, like fire, or ash, or dust. You also speak, of ash, of hair, of milk gone dark as night. Sometimes God crept beneath the hotel door in a crack of light, sometimes not, sometimes nothing at all. The clouds in the sky sit down on the sea. The children braid their hair before the mirror while water fills up the sink. The children teach their hands to do this work. Later, each teaches her hands how to fall asleep. Sometimes at night, sometimes not, sometimes at noon or later. In the dark inside the dark, in the night the lidless stone eye alone can see. The gray stone behind the eye that never becomes the world falling endlessly into it. The gray zone not made of stone, but of stoniness, where nouns drift into adjectives, and what remains is a powder that whitens the face from within, some dust within the face, time and ash and the old milk that nursed their bones. You speak also, both of you speak, my daughters. What I want to hide from you hides inside you. To yourself stay blind is the latest prayer. Soon enough it will grow old. Know thyself in the rubble heap outside the ruins. Lidless eyes that mind the stone. I mean, give it a mind. The crack in the face of the god. Ritual version. Hum self, sham self, him self, shame self, lame self, lamb self, numb self, unself. Sing anger, goddess of many devices. Sing anger, godless. Tell me who, sacred in the sea, suffered so many woes. Bookshelf, doubt shelf, debt shelf, rift shelf, drift shelf, truth shelf, fool shelf, rue shelf. Sing less the many souls sent, they perished. Sing spoils for the dogs, who swallowed down the foolish song, the soul and its companions. Noun self, not self, non-self, lash self, ash self, law self, thought self, ought self. Tell me, muse, from any point, and birds, sing less the wrath of a man's cleverness. Tell us also of recklessness, of home. And I'll end with two poems. One for apophatic, which is for Peter Gizzi. And apophasis and what is apophatic is the presence of nothingness, the proof via the negative. Nothing changes, nothing grows wild, nothing grows tame, nothing bends weird, the mind space, into shape of tether and memory of ankle gone lame. The whole hurt song called irony cannot know how chaos aches beneath the facts it wears for a face, the fact of a blank page being a form of a map that is a kind of mask missing a mountain or a mouth or a marble pedestal from which the riddle pours down, and you know a man is the answer, a man. But nothing changes, nothing bends absence bright into a silence called paper, white, sun, circle, or solar sail, or lonely wind across vast despair, or blank hope bearing small repair, that this finger I point at myself answers the question, what is not is everywhere. And lastly, Middle Ages. Once I was a child. When did that horizon? Once I was a child. I built a little boat. It wanders, blown by breath caught in a sail, toy breath, toy sail, out into the unbreathable reach the center goes wandering, toy boat. I drifted into the Middle Ages. Some current pushed my little craft into this room I cannot leave. The same current pushed open a door floating on an ocean, a leaky door. Caught in the drift, out went the golden age, out the silver and out the bronze, out iron and out irony. Out went the bright eyes gleam, out went the theory of the world as machine. Out went the candle and out went the ghost. The surface deepened when I needed it most, deepened what I needed most. You see it with me, what the center holds. Light without sun, but light. Some breath, some air, a song like a battered spar can't guide, but shares our situation. Where door opens only on to other door, life's ongoingness of doors, such improbable doors we've drifted in on to the threshold condition. Once again, those are poems from a book soon to be in the world, Arrows, published by Tupelo, to whom I'm very grateful for so many years of support. Again, it won't be blue or look anything like what I'm showing you, but you can pre-order it now if you'd like to, and if you would like to do that from the press itself would be a real gift to them in times when gifts are needed. I'd also like to just mention two books just out that I think are deeply beautiful and deserve as many readers as they can find. One is Edges and Fray by Danielle Vogel that Wesleyan just put out, a really stunning book. And the other is Sarah Gridley's new book, And So Far, from New Issues. Both, I think, are wonderfully needed medicine for the day and age we're in. So I hope you can also find it to find your way to those worthy books. Please check out my question and answers over at Green Mountains Review online. And thank you again, everybody. Bye.